Vegas. Folks, we're back here again, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, full of wordy, whimsical wizardry. You're a bad influence on me. You're a very bad influence on me. Welcome to APX for this edition, back with a fresh interview. And as we always like to start conversations like these, it would best if I were to serve you with a premise. The late comedy and variety show stalwart Red Skelton said the following best: a clown's job is to make someone laugh. But a clown who can make someone laugh and cry, wow, that is legendary. And in my opinion, no one got that concept right in the 21st century, none other than Robin Williams. Some people think Ricky Gervais, but he's later generation. The reason why I say that, words had the capacity to make you cry, to make you laugh, snigger, titter, guffaw, even commit someone the act of killing, but at least fire off a warning shot. And that is the essence of what makes comedy great. We all need humor, but unfortunately today, all of us in the latter generation have our heads stuck right up where it doesn't belong. But before I get to what the PC police tend to do, there's an option of 3 things that you can do with either your smartphone, your smart TV, or an app. There's a volume dial, there's a power button, and you can change the channel. Words are there to make life a lot more lighter, and humor is never 100% fair. Anything goes, and that's why we all need to start to laugh more. It boils down to who can tell a joke and who can't. That is the dividing line. Thankfully, in the latter category, I've got someone who not only can tell a joke, she excels in it. April Brucker is a mainstay, having both a BA degree and an MFA degree in creative writing. Whether on the stage or in cabaret or even on live television, she keeps everyone in stitches, and she's worked with all of them, from Jerry Springer to Bob Saget, and you can see her on stage as well with a variety of puppets at her side. April joins me to talk about the origin of her humor, what makes her tick, the origin of joke writing, and a whole lot more. April, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here. And honest to God, I'm with you. We all need to laugh again. Everybody's so serious now. Everybody's online. They're fight.
You're telling me, make humor great again. Agree?
Thank you. And nobody, I agree. And none of them can spell. That's the funny thing. They're all convinced that they're BS. And none of them can spell, okay. Just to give you an idea, I had somebody call me a liberal whore. All right. I'm a liberal whore, and he wants me to show him my tits.
Do you charge by the hour?
I should charge him by the hour. I mean, because the only girlfriend he has is his left hand, and we have something in common. We both talk to our hand. You see, I have a puppet on my hand. He talks to his hand because that's the closest he's ever going to get to a woman. Well, anyway, he calls me a liberal whore. He couldn't spell whore right. So I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me. It's WHORE. Okay. So if you're going to insult me, spell it right. That's all I ask, And then somebody called me. They said I was part of the problem, and they didn't put a period at the end. So if I'm part of the problem and you don't put a period at the end, that's kind of a continuation. It's the creative writing person in me. If you're gonna insult me, you better punctuate that right. That's all I'm saying, folks.
Well, you know what? You've touched on something which was taught unto me, and this I struggled with for a long time. Let me play open cards here. And that's the struggle to remain neutral. You and I both come from the entertainment background. You're now a humorist. I'm a communicator. And there's always that internal struggle of the 80-20 principles. Remember that? You get 80% of people who get mad about you, and then you get 20% of people who get mad because of you. But the thing is,
Yes.
the 20% variable are the people who are the most verbal, and correlating with what you are saying, they've got very terrible grammar. Very
Yeah.
terrible.
Very terrible grammar. And and here's the thing, like, it's a joke. It's like if you don't like it, like you said, change the, the frickin' channel. And this election season, with
Mm.
some of the puppets that I have, and you'll meet some of them a little later. I've been interviewed by liberal people. I've been interviewed by conservative people. And my whole thing is we all need to laugh again. Like everybody is so serious about everything. We just had COVID. We just had all this in the world. Like, let's laugh.
Absolutely. Seeing that we're both playing that card, you know what? I'm not into the leftist ideal whatsoever, but I was taught to give everyone a platform. You know my country's history as equally as well as I, how big a struggle it
Hmm.
was so that everyone could have a voice, which ultimately led to the so-called 95 democratic elections. Be that as it may, now everyone can make their voice a little bit thicker. But now the constant struggle, and you have had this problem, and I'm referring to the entertainment field colloquially in the US with cancel culture and unnecessary censorship. That's the very thing that I strived to end in my broadcast career. And what happened? I got the proverbial finger. So,
Of
but you know what?
course. Of
That
course
didn't
you did.
stop me. That didn't stop me. That's why I started this platform. But let's shift the politics aside just for 1 second here. I see you've already got one of your characters at the ready. Forgive me if I don't know her name, but I know that she's. Oh my gosh. Now she's angry at me. Oh boy.
I'm not angry at you, Chris. I
Ah,
want you. I'm hungry and I want you. As a matter of fact, April said, What do you want this morning? I said I want a white South African for breakfast and I want to chase it with a pina colada. May Wilson, everybody.
May Wilson. There we go. May, welcome to the show, darling. And let me tell you, I
Thank
don't
you.
come cheaply, sweetie. You're going to have to fork up the dough.
Cheaply. Well, I just want to let you know, Chris, that I like Jewish guys. You like Jewish guys? Yes, their last name, they're rich. Well, that's a stereotype, mate. No, it's true. Their last names are silver, gold, and green.
God bless you. God bless you. Now, May, when did you start joining the act? Because I'm certain that you weren't initially part of the plan, were you?
Well, it's actually a funny story. You see, my sister had a Charlie McCarthy puppet that she wasn't using.
Uh-huh.
And everybody's like, April, you need a puppet that looks like yourself. And so I was like, blah, blah. So my sister had this Charlie McCarthy sitting in the corner and she wasn't using it. She said, April, why don't you use my Charlie McCarthy? So Charlie got a wig, Charlie got makeup, Charlie got lipstick. What I'm trying to say is I used to be a guy, okay? That's either going to make me more popular than ever or I'm going to be canceled.
Okay, did you get a wish from your fairy godmother to change into a woman, or was there a cosmetic procedure? I noticed the tiara.
There were a lot of cosmetic procedures and I didn't even have to go to Thailand, okay?
Oh, thank goodness. We would have had another hangover on hand.
Yes. So yeah, so that's the original backstory. But
Right.
tell them the backstory you tell people. The backstory I tell people is I'm from Pocatello, Idaho. I was just a sock. It got out of hand. I saw Anna Nicole Smith. I decided I wanted to be a star, and so I'm looking for a sugar daddy. You're looking for a sugar daddy. The older the better. The older the better. And what's the pickup line you're using? Excuse me, Hot Wheels. Do you need an executor for your estate?
You should have posted that question to Hugh Hefner before he married Crystal.
I tried, and you know what happened? He said, "Excuse me, they have to get me on life support." I said, "Life support? I can work around that." And then he croaked, as if.
Oh boy. And no wonder you are where you are today. You
I know.
silver-tongued, you silver-tongued beauty, you even more brighter than your tiara.
Well, thank you. So, but May, we were talking about cancel culture. Tell him about some of the stuff that you've dealt with.
Please do.
OMG, I almost got stabbed. Okay.
You got, sorry, you almost got what?
She almost got stabbed.
Oh,
Yes.
for goodness
Right.
sake.
We were doing a show in Williamsburg and we were street performing. And this was after I left my fiance for my puppets. That's a different story entirely. Okay. April made a mistake. So, anyway, long story short, we're doing this show and this homeless guy comes up. And I said, "Excuse me, handsome, how much money do you have?" Because we're doing a shtick. And he says, "Fuck you," and starts chasing me in May. And I ran for my life. And luckily, somebody let us, duck into the high priced coffee shop, but he almost stabbed me. Apparently, he didn't think April was very funny. No, he didn't think you were very funny. No, I'm a star. You were the one that died. Okay. You're the one
Okay,
that
girls,
loved us
girls,
too.
girls. Let's not complain about who's the hottie and who's the naughty. I get you. I got death threats myself for playing Pink Floyd records on a conservative station. All right? Let's meet each other halfway.
Yeah, see, and then you were on What Would You Do, May, and remember you almost got beat up? Oh yeah, that's right. They almost knocked my tiara off. Well, that's a true story. We were filming the hidden camera show, What Would You Do? And the woman on the bench was an actress whose husband was actually wealthy. And this was kind of a hobby for her. She lived in a really exclusive neighborhood, took a car service down, which is a few hundred American dollars. You do the math. And it's a hidden camera show. And so, May, what did you say to her? I said, "Excuse me, homeless lady, you should get yourself a work ethic and some self esteem." So, May, she's an actress, and this doorman comes up and he's smoking a cigarette and he goes, "Stop making fun of the homeless lady." And I go, "It's not me, it's her." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, well, when the cops come, they're going to arrest both of you." So, of course, the crew comes out with What Would You Do? They're like, "This is What Would You Do? It's a hidden camera show." And and they're like, "Well, you're making fun of homeless people." They're like, "No, the homeless lady's an actor." And so he talked on camera. That was a close call. And then you had that crazy lady that you thought was going to kill you in the audience, right? Oh, her. Yeah, May almost got killed by a crazy lady. We were doing a residency in Las Vegas where I was the star. April was just the ugly friend behind me. No, 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 May. We were the stars. No, I was the star. Remember, he's going to meet us halfway. Oh, yeah, that's right, Chris. This is why I want to rip you up like a lion afterwards. Wow. Sorry, she's forward.
That's okay.
So anyway, long story short, we have a joke in our act because we're roommates. We met on Craigslist, where of course all the good things happen. Do you have Craigslist in South Africa?
Sorry, darling, we're 20 years behind. That's a story for another day.
So anyway, so we met on Craigslist, and so this woman starts screaming, "My family was killed by the Craigslist killer. My family was killed by the Craigslist killer." And what did you say, May? Well, it looks like you got the wrong family member. And we got a round of applause from the audience. Well, anyway, she's screaming. They're escorting her out of the room, and she's like, "I want my money back." And they said, and she says, "The drinks was bad. The drinks were bad, and the puppet was rude and insulted me." So they said, "You want your money back because you were insulted by a puppet." And so it went into the log, and I objected to that because the term is textile American. So yeah.
Oh, you two are too much. I would have to go for the 2-for-1 special, but I really
Oh, so
love.
you're into threesomes with the schizophrenic, no strings attached. Oh, she's very forward. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I can dig it. Remember, I'm the one that's circumcised. Not going to get better than that.
Oh, you know what they say about Jewish guys? They make the cut because they're cut.
Sweetie, you and I have got something going. April, sorry about that. I love this. I really, really love this. And I anticipated something like this. But just a little bit of anthropology. Sorry, May, this is for April. I'll get back to you in 1 second, darling. Don't go. Oh, don't do that. Don't sulk. Your eyes are so blue.
Thank you.
You've got the most beautiful eyes. I can see right through you, even the hand that's controlling you. Did I say that out loud? April, a little bit of anthropology. When did you ever come to realize that you could actually make people laugh? Was it a talent, or was it something that ran in your family, or was it a coping mechanism?
Well, that's the funny thing is everybody that I'm married, everybody that I'm related to is funny.
Right.
My parents are funny, my brother's funny. I come from a family that's crazy, and it's a big family, okay? And just to give you an idea, when you're from a big family, somebody's always going to Yale and somebody's always going to jail. So there's always something going on. And and it's true. Like, I have family members that are PhDs. My brother just joined the faculty of Harvard. My sister went to Brown Med School. But I also have a cousin that got struck by lightning 3 times and lived. I have another cousin that made the news because he went on a because he committed an armed robbery and tried to sell the bike he stole online. And he was wearing a Make America Great Again shirt, and he did it on
Right.
camera. And he was only 13. So he's on the honors track as well, not really.
Yikes.
But on the flip side, I have family members that have gotten PhDs. As a matter of fact, one of my cousins, her PhD announcement was in the paper, and my cousin's arrest was in the paper. And so, and of course, so the cousin that got the PhD was mad. And then, of course, my manager says to me, April, what's wrong with you? Your cousin that got arrested is getting more ink than all of you. So,
And there you just knew that your path was predestined to do something in the spotlight, but hopefully not in front of not in a 6x9 or an
yeah,
8x9.
that was the hope. And so here's the thing. I had I just had this crazy, and anytime I talk about my family, it was like somebody was really like there was always something. And my grandparents were funny. My
I
mom's
can relate
mom,
there.
yes, it was really funny. She would leave you messages and start in the middle of the message, and like she would just it would be like, he said that she should come over at 5, and Ruth will be there at 6. Like, hi grandma. And then my grandpa loved practical jokes. He had been in World War II, um and he had been a part of the troops that dropped the atomic bomb, but he loved
Really?
practical jokes. Oh yeah, and one of his favorite practical jokes was telling everybody that he could turn into a gorilla when there was a full moon. And my dad was away, and my mom had my brother and his friends for the sleepover, and it was me and my sister. We were too cool to join. So my dad so my grandpa was over, and he's like, I'm going to tell everybody a story. When there's a full moon, I turn into a gorilla. And these 9-year-old boys are like, nah, whatever, you crazy old man. And so, well, and so, like, all of a sudden he disappears. They hear this tapping and this scratching and this growling. And he flies through the door in this gorilla suit, and everybody goes running and screaming. It was awesome.
So you had a very
And my
adventurous childhood.
Yeah, I was related to some very colorful people. And then I had my aunts were always dating these crazy guys. And one, she dated this guy that was in the military, and he meets my grandfather. And my grandfather had been a second lieutenant during World War II in the Navy. And he's saluting him, and he's doing these push-ups, and the more he talked, the more my grandfather would like fall asleep. And that was his trick for dealing with people he didn't like, was he'd fall asleep. And one of my cousins thought that he was dead, which was pretty funny. And my grandma goes, "Wake up, you old man." And he goes, "Enlisted men, they never change." And so, anyway, he came to visit, and we met him, and he's driving this pickup truck, and he's real redneck. And so, my dad is like real lawyery, was the first in his family to go to college. He comes home, and my dad is like a shark in the driveway, just waiting there in his car, watching everybody. And so my aunt's boyfriend stupidly goes up to him. He closes the car door. He's in his suit. And he goes, "Sir, who are you?" He goes, "I'm the man that lives here and pays for everything."
Well, if you want a blunt answer, you can't get it more than that.
No, and you could not get it more than my dad. Like my dad
Oh
was
my
as blunt
gosh.
as could be. Like when I was in second grade and I had this teacher, and I also had some crazy teachers too.
Oh, that I can
And
relate
this
completely.
this woman was a nightmare.
My
And
mathematics
she
teacher
just
used to throw candy bars at me.
oh yes, yes. She threw something at me. She chased me into a bathroom. Oh, this woman was a nut. And so, and she told me that I'd be on welfare and I'd get my clothes at Goodwill forever. Now, if she's listening, Goodwill has some good stuff, so you're really missing out, Miss
My
Tish. But
favorite movie.
anyway, yes, exactly. So, long story short, I was like really not doing great. And so my dad says, "Listen, how you're in second grade, right?" I say, "Yeah." He goes, "Kid, you better stop messing up because you're in the big leagues now."
Cue May Wilson.
Yes, of course. Hugh May Wilson. And you know what I have to say to that?
Go
I
for it.
have to say, listen, April's not on welfare, okay? If you're listening, lady, I'm doing great. And
She's
I'm with an
faring
older
well.
man. Yes, I'm doing great. So if you're listening, lady, you know, April used to daydream when you talk because you were crazy. But the good news is they yanked your teaching license and you're married to a guy with no job and your kids hate you. And so then, of course, I when I got older, I collected toxic men.
Hmm. They are so relevant nowadays.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I almost married one. I'm sure you almost married a toxic woman along the way.
Mm-hmm. Got a couple of them. There's a few of their resumes here on my bed, along with their
Oh,
underwear.
well, do you want to exchange information? We could do some love connection with our exes. They all
Sure,
deserve
I'm.
each. Yeah.
Yeah, let's set them up. Let's set them up. It's better than speed dating. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, they will be perfect. Like, and so, but basically, I met this guy. I thought he was everything I wanted. He proposed on the third date. Now, you're in the recovery community. If that's not codependency, I don't know what is. And if that's not red flags, I don't know what is. And I'm sure you've done stuff like that too, where you're like, let's move in. I love you. Let's move in. Why is this going badly? So,
Dude,
anyway,
you've got no idea.
oh, I
You're
do.
talking my life story there.
I told her it was a bad idea. So anyway, long story
Distance
short.
between madness and genius is measured only by success. That's why you're a stand-up comedian.
So anyway, long story short, he says, April, you know, I want to marry you. And so shortly thereafter, he becomes controlling and he's telling me it's either him or the puppets. And he says, you know, you're not really all that good at the ventriloquism. And I love being a ventriloquist more than anything in the world. So long story short, and it's all I wanted to do. Well, and you know, and I'd done it back home. I'd been on public access. I'd worked hard. I'd gotten to New York City. So I thought, well, being a ventriloquist is great, but you know what else is great? Being a wife, being a girlfriend, you know? So I put my puppets away and they collected dust under my bed. And I had more bugs in me than Kim Kardashian's coochie, okay? All right, May, I know this is painful. So anyway, from there the relationship got worse. He told me what I could and couldn't wear. He told me who I could and couldn't talk to. He was physically violent, which really shocked me, but nobody else. He had a bad temper. You know, he wouldn't work. He made me support him, you know, because we're always surprised when these things blow up, right? Nobody else is, but it's always a shocker to us. So anyway, long story short, I was really depressed. I was drinking all the time. I wasn't eating. I'd lost a lot of weight. My hair was falling out. And so I look under my bed and there's May collecting dust. And I said, I miss you. I said, I miss you too. So I said, what do I do? Tell him that you've chosen. You know, it's him or the chocolates. You've chosen the chocolates. And I said, May, where will I go? I said, April, you're supporting his ass. That's his problem. I said, that's a good point. So I walk in the kitchen with May Wilson on my arm. And May, what did you say? Listen, buddy, April's chosen. And here's my magnifying glass. I still can't see your dick. Sayonara, fucker.
Well done. Well done. It reminds me of that joke where the couple go to divorce court, and on the final day that the divorce is finalized, the wife who walks away with the big paycheck goes, "Bye bye," and the husband goes, "Bye bye." Oh boy. Are you okay?
All these years later, I still love telling that story. I love telling that story because and so but May, so May and I we actually have a Christmas song coming out called Merry Christmas, I Still Hate You. It's an ode to all the bullets that we dodged.
Well, the next time that they audition for a new Matrix movie, you two make sure that you audition for it. April, what I
I
love.
gotta go meet my sugar daddy, but nice seeing you. Yeah,
Nice seeing
so
you too, sweetie.
but yeah, she's been with me through a lot. Yeah, but I was the only one shocked when this ended badly.
I'm sure. And you know what? This serves as a perfect segue. You've chosen a perfect vehicle for your stand up, which is character comedy. And I would like to share with you an anecdote that was shared to me that if you do character comedy on stage or even in an audio-visual medium, I come from a radio background to repeat, and you do a character on the air where people can't see, you can get away with murder. You can get away with murder in so many ways. Was it intentional? Well, you actually answered that question. Was it intentional to incorporate that in your act? You don't have to answer that because you said that. But tell me more about your characters that you've got in your act. We've met May, gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous, and she's not Marilyn Monroe in any sense of the word.
No, but I think she's still got that 7-year itch.
Oh yeah, and she likes it hot.
She likes it hot, and so, but I have, and actually, it is intentional because my belief is that ventriloquism chooses you. That's what Jay Johnson said, and I write about ventriloquism, as a matter of fact, in my book. Don't read my lips. It's if you're listening and you want to know all my secrets, it's available on Amazon. But the thing is that I was, getting back to me, I was a shy kid. Because even though I had this
No,
crazy, yeah, I had this
no
really
way.
way, I had this crazy ass family, but I was shy, and I grew up without cable because why make my life, you know? And my mother dressed me going to school because I was a winner. And she said, if you live here, you're a thinker. Look at how that turned out. And when I was in middle school, we finally got cable, right? Because my brother was playing football. And in order to get one channel, you got to get 20. And my dad is very blunt, like we established. And he fought with the cable company for an hour because he didn't want more channels. He only wanted one. So they're like, you got to get all them. But I only want one. So finally, we had to get 20 different channels. And so one night, we're watching TV. And this is after one of my brother's football games. And we were all trying to talk like the ventriloquist in. I was the only one that could do it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hand. And after the interview, and after that, my mom got me a Groucho Marx figure. But, and I
Oh
figured it was a
man.
great way to just make people laugh. And, and then it was public access TV.
Right.
And I always wrote too. And again, I had these crazy family members. And because it's election season, I miss my Meemaw Ralph. That's my mom's dad. Or that's my dad's mom. I have so many family members, I can't keep track. I need a flow chart. The pollsters used to call her, and she used to fight with them. She used to fight with the pollsters on the phone. But anyway, speaking of election, hello, hello, hello. I have a former president here.
Mr. President, welcome to the program, sir. Well, I'm going to call you
Thank
that out of
you,
respect.
Donald J. Trump. So, former President Trump. This program is in South Africa. Well, what can I say? I like South Africa. You like South Africa? Yes, because it's the part of Africa, just like Florida. They love me in the South here, and they're gonna love me in the South in Africa. I'm not so sure that's the case, but that's great. So former President Trump, why should everybody vote for you in 2024? Well, April, I'm master of everything. I have billions and billions of dollars, and I was host of my own successful reality TV show. Oh, and I was president of my own university, Trump University. You were sued for fraud. Shut up, April. The Better Business Bureau gave me a AAA rating. Wait, the Better Business Bureau gave you a AAA rating? Wrong. A triple K rating. KKK.
And thus we get to know the art of the deal. Were you always political in your act, or was it just something that just came on recently because of the election? We spoke about this a little bit, arranging this.
Yes and no. I've always veered, I'm liberal on some issues, more in the center on others. Like, for instance, I'm very pro-choice, very pro-LGBTQ. I lived in New York, and the way I label myself is I say I'm just April, okay? All of God's children are crazy. And I know that firsthand. Women can lie better than men. Shh, don't tell them. I was shocked that women could lie. Trust me. I was like, we're supposed to be better. But we were not. Yes, we were not. As a matter of fact, we are more conniving than men could ever be. Men are fairly simple creatures. Yes, we are. Feed me, fuck me, shut the fuck up. Right? Yes.
Well, the Lord only gave us 2 brains, but only enough blood flow to control one at a time. So there is some validity in that statement.
But women, the wheels are always turning. Watch out.
Trust me, I live with one, and she gave birth to me. I have trouble trying to understand her as well, so I just do the one thing that all men should do: is shut the fuck up.
No, I do. Well, I do that when I speak to my mother too. As a matter of fact, my mom's very blunt as well. Oh gosh, just to let you know, when my mom, I was learning how to use Tampax, and true story, my mom has this. She said when the plumber comes, they're going to know it's you if you throw them in the toilet. I said, Mom, I won't throw them in the toilet. She goes, good. Be discreet because I don't want your father or brother or sister to see them or company. I said, that's understood. She goes, but if you throw them in the toilet and it gets clogged, the plumber's going to know it's you because it's not your father, it's not your brother, your sister's too little, and I'm going through menopause and getting hot flashes, so I'm done.
Sounds like my mother too.
Do they hang out? They must know each other. But President Trump, are you pro-choice? Yes. Well, actually, I'm pro-life. You're pro-life. Throw the baby over the cliff. Let God decide.
Well, Mr. President, you certainly have said it all. And you certainly have had it all.
I've had it all, but what are you trying to do? April and I are trying to get to Milwaukee this July. That's right. We're trying to get to the RNC, the Republican
National Convention.
Yep. And we're trying to raise money on fundraiser.com. We're 60% of the way there. But Mr. Trump, with all your billions, why couldn't you kick in? Well, I couldn't kick in because those legal bills are costing me money. Yeah, that's right. Those legal bills are costing you money. But are you scared of prison? You just were found guilty on 34 felony counts. Fake news. Chick, stick a guy with 34 felony counts. I mean, how many of your boyfriends have been to prison, April? Easy. It gives rappers more street cred, and orange is the new Trump. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But you say it, and then he can talk. He likes to interrupt people. We're working on that.
Ah, I understand. So, you know what? Let me clear the air on something, and it's not attack on you. It's this the whole thing about fake news. I heard a commentary from a Canadian radio team that it was in fact Donald Trump who invented the term fake news. It's not the truth. There was a precursor to that, and that was something that I also tried to avoid in my broadcasting career. Instead of two words, it's one word and consists of five letters: Libel,
Hmm.
libel. And if you were guilty of libel, you are forking up a lot of dough for criminal injuria and name shaming. But due to 2016, everything goes. Look, I'll be very transparent. I will never censor anyone if they have an opinion that is different of what I have. What I think about Donald Trump is my business exclusively, but at the same time, I love the jokes. I mean, John Lithgow wrote a book in 2000, help me right here, 2018, where he
Hmm.
made Donald Trump Humpty Dumpty, and it's now a series of three books. I love that audiobook.
Oh,
Look,
it's
I
funny. It's fun, and he's a character. How can you not laugh?
well, you know what? I will say this to every person who asks me about my opinion about Donald Trump. When Donald Trump announced his candidacy for president, I was dumbfounded. Dumbfounded because I knew him as the rest of the world knew him. Real estate mogul and TV mainstay from The Apprentice, created by Mark Burnett, who I look up to.
Hmm.
And then the whole business came out with this whole Stormy Daniels saga and um, Congresswoman Hillary Clinton with those secret emails. FBI director of the time, Robert Comey, drafted a pardon letter having not conducted an investigation. So it was a whole web of intrigue that occurred. And leading up to the 2020 elections, another web of intrigue. Dominion, apparently, that was a corrupted software system. So there's a water diviner line. But if I were to say the opposite, then I'm considered the, oh, give me a negative connotation. So I've
You're
always
considered
attempted,
the Antichrist. Yeah.
well, unfortunately, I don't qualify. But in any event,
No, but still, I mean, you get what I'm saying. Yeah,
very much.
like you're
I
like
was
the
trying to
worst
make a
person
comedic
ever.
jest to you.
Well, but I get what you're saying, and and it's just like, but now it's like if you have a differing opinion, because everybody's so divided that if you
Sure.
have a differing opinion, it's like people are going to cut you out of their lives. They can't have a conversation about the facts anymore, and so part of why we're going to, um,
The RNC.
Milwaukee is, yeah, the RNC in Milwaukee is to protest Trump, but also just to make people laugh again. And so, folks, if you
And
haven't
that's
seen it
what you get
already,
right. And that's what you
thank
get
you.
right. Because I was about to say, not only do you skewer Donald Trump, you also skewer Joe Biden.
Yes, and he's going to be here in a few minutes. But former
But Mr.
President
Trump,
Trump,
all I want to, oh, sorry, President Trump, President Trump, President Trump. Sir, you can
he
sue me.
trademarked
Sorry.
his name, so you know, yeah.
Sir, you can sue me. I will gladly fork up the dough and hopefully you can pay towards bail. But all the best of luck, and I hope somehow,
Thank
some
you,
right.
thank you, thank you. And April, I want to grab you by the pussy. Whoa, whoa. Because I like
Dude,
girls that
not
like
cool.
stormy weather. Stormy weather. Excuse me? And while you're at it, you know how my hair got to be this color? Oh, dear God, I don't want to know. Golden showers. Oh, dear. So donate to fundraiser.com because I've been selling the goggles and they haven't quite caught on. Well, tell us about your Bible. Well, I got to meet my probation officer, but maybe you'll go on. Chris, instead of 10 commandments, my Bible only has 8. I took out
And
the
why
ones
only
about
8?
stealing and adultery. And so, what else is different about your Bible? You know the story of Cain and Abel? Yeah, I think everybody knows that story. You see, Cain kills his brother Abel, and instead of being punished by God and cursed, he's given a promotion because Abel is standing in the way of his success. Anything else that's different? Yes, in the story of Adam and Eve, Eve has bigger boobs.
Oh, dude. Oh, dude.
No wonder this hasn't caught on. Well, anyway, I gotta go see my probation officer. But anything else you want to say? Yes. Don't believe my views on immigration. All my wives are foreign born. I like the newest, hottest, youngest foreign imports. That being said, you're getting evicted, Melania. Donald J. Trump. Check out our fundraiser. Help a girl and her dummy get to the RNC.
April, really, I want to thank you. I want to really, really thank you. You've really just opened up my eyes. Wow. You're just such a talented comedienne, and I love your humor. And I'm not saying that to blow smoke up your dress, my darling. You really
you
are.
can do that.
Well, I quit smoking. Another little bit of anthropology with you. Who have been some? You've mentioned that you grew up without cable, but were there some of the other comics of the heyday that inspired you?
Well, I'd have to say that I really, really, really loved the old stuff. My dad liked the old movies, loved the Marx Brothers, loved Mae
Yeah.
West. I love Mae
Well,
West, obviously.
I wanted to say you're the second coming of Mae West.
Oh my God, thank you. You can blow smoke up my dress anytime now.
Well, at least it's ozone free, and I won't hurt the ozone layer any further. Because who can say no to those beautiful blue eyes of yours?
Well, thank you. And just to keep it fair, do you want me to wake Joe Biden time up?
It's Biden time.
Yeah.
Does he need an energy drink? Does he need caffeine?
I think he's Mr. President. Mr. President.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first time on the Apex Predator, our Commander-in-Chief.
Hello. What am I doing here? Mr. President, it's the Apex Predator. When I was a boy in Scranton, my father said, Joey, don't go to the woods without your animal repellent. You don't want to run into an Apex Predator. No, this is Chris Nell. He's from South Africa. Oh, South Africa. Yes, South Africa. South Africa, the home of Nelson Mandela. When I was a senator in Delaware, I saw a man on TV by the name of Nelson Mandela. He said,
Sir.
I have a dream. That's Martin Luther King. Oh, yes. What are we talking about again? The Apex Predator. Remember the South African interview? Yes. So, how are you doing today, young man?
Mr. President, it's a privilege to have you. I'm doing very well. And yourself?
Well, it's going great. As a matter of fact, going really great. You see,
how's the campaign?
The fact of the matter is, the campaign's going great. As a matter
Glad
of
to
fact,
hear it.
the last time a campaign went so well, Napoleon was galloping across Europe. Did I
And he
tell
saw
you
his
that I was
Waterloo.
alive then? Yes, then he saw Waterloo. What did I tell you that I was alive then? You were?
Really?
Just kidding.
So, Mr. President, tell me, what is the whole business now with regards to improving relations overseas? Because I understand that's one of your primary objectives nowadays. Better immigration laws?
The fact of the matter is, we need better immigration laws. When I was a boy in Scranton, the nuns taught us a math principle called immigration. No, that's integration. Oh, integration. Yes. But what do you think of better immigration, better overseas? Tell us, what do you think of overseas? The fact of the matter is, we need to improve our overseas relations because 1, we are members of the UN. 2, we must salute all of our neighbors no matter what. Number 4, Mr. President? Yes, number 4. What were we talking about again? Overseas relations. Oh, overseas relations. Yes. When I was a boy in Scranton, I got to go on the boat on the ocean, and my father said, Joey, you should always wear a life jacket if you travel overseas. Hey.
Mr. President, I think you need another soft serve. Maybe you can stitch a proper sentence together then.
Oh, well. So, but if you're reelected, you're going to be the oldest person ever to be president. Knock on wood. I'm as quick as a whip. Knock on wood. I'm as strong as an ox. Knock on wood. Who are you again? April. Oh, April. Ew, you're sniffing my hair. Sorry, my eyesight's going. It works for my dog Major.
April, I think you better put him to bed. I think he's starting to get a little tired.
Well, I gotta say this. I'm gonna debate my opponent anytime, any place, anywhere. But it might be your bedtime. It might be your bedtime. Well, I'm gonna debate him if he's here. Do you think they should have a debate on the air?
You know what? I think they might end up killing each other, and we might hear a phrase of "Come on, man," instead of
Come on, man, I'm right here.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, oh boy. Come on, man. You know, you're going to jail. You should talk. It worked for Nelson Mandela. He did 34 years. I have 34 counts, and they still elected him, right?
27, actually.
27. Well, 2734. Well, I just want to say that I believe in helping convicted felons like you. Are you going to pardon me? No, it's job creation. You can be my butler now that I'm broke, and my son Hunter can mow the lawn. See? Job creation.
Easy, easy, easy. Remember, your daughter-in-law is from my country.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. The latest Hunter's latest squeeze, the one that's helping him get his life together. Yeah. Your son's a loser. Your son's a loser. Okay, would you guys like to kiss on the air? Well, it is Pride Month, and I need the vote of those rainbow people. You mean the VLTQ?
There we go. Make peace, not war, folks.
See, you're putting him to bed. This is what my life's like, man. And my life is never dull. It's never dull.
Well, you know what? I envy you, because there are certain days where it goes up and the other days it goes down. And you're lucky that it's summer in America, because right here I am freezing. So I would give anything to trade places with you, my dear.
Well, it's 110 degrees where I'm at, so.
You were saying?
Yeah, that's right. You're in another hemisphere. What is the temperature where you're at? I'm just curious now.
Think roughly in the center of 10 degrees, but in Celsius,
Oh
not Fahrenheit.
And that would be like 40 degrees Fahrenheit, right?
I would think so.
And you're right by the water, right?
Not exactly. I'm more northeast.
Windy, right?
Very
windy.
Cold front.
Okay, then that 40 degrees is really rough. Please tell me you're bundling up.
Big time. Big time. I'm dressed like an Eskimo.
Well, I'm waiting for it to cool down a little bit here, because we're in pre-production of April in Vegas, where I get to interview people like Chris, but I'm not as cool as Chris, and it's by the poolside. And this is the first time I told this story on the air.
Sure.
I was making fun of Trump. I was making fun of everybody, and I was doing a post-election stream, and all of a sudden my computer crashes for no reason. And I think somebody was hacking into my computer and watching me.
Well, I'll meet you halfway, because as I told you, the presidential campaign kicked off in 2016, and I was starting my FM career just after the time that Donald Trump took the presidency. When I first took to the air, I suffered horribly, and I started to gradually build up until Donald Trump was inaugurated, and I filled in for the 5 to 7 guy, and all of a sudden, after I finished the 5 to 7 shift, and I was covering the presidential celebration, I walked outside, and there was a gentleman waiting in his truck for me, and he flashed his lights. And this guy was a fucking far-right loony. Far-right loony. So I'm with you there. Jeez.
Oh, yeah. And then there was freaky things happening even before the election. And this is why I think that there was some sort of interference. There was this guy that I started talking to on Twitter who was really, really, really just, he was right wing, but he was cute, and so I tweeted with him, So he messages me one day on Facebook, and he's got like a gazillion followers on Twitter, and it's now X. Anyway, long story short, he messages me and says, are you voting for Donald Trump? And I said, no. He goes, well, I voted for Obama. Now I'm voting for Trump. I can make you change your mind. And so I started to talk to him a little, and it wasn't like we were just talking about ideas, whatever. And anyway, one day I go, and he's cute. He's really cute. Okay. And that's all I'm thinking is I'm lonely and he's cute. All right. So, and that always gets us in trouble now, doesn't it? So
Big
anyway,
time.
long story short, I go to message him one day and he's gone. Just never existed. His Twitter account's gone. I Google him. He's nowhere to be found. It was creepy.
It was QAnon.
Probably. And it might not have even been his picture. It was probably some guy that was living in his mom's basement that was 400 pounds.
Now you know why I don't normally talk politics. But that brings me to another thing, freedom of speech. I hear what you're saying as well. I've received everything that you can receive as a media personality in South Africa. Censorship by the dozen. I was threatened with having my job taken away. I was, did I say death threats? I was accused of being homosexual on the air, which I'm not. Bear in mind, South Africa is a very conservative, or actually my nationality is very, very far right because we were manipulated by the church at the time, which was like a vehicle for politics. So as a result, there's still remnants of that. And if you just have a little bit of a thinking away from that, all of a sudden you're a fucking heretic. And I don't buy into that. So I was branded as a homosexual, the first homosexual on a conservative radio station. Right? With this voice? How could I? But in any event, so I hear exactly with what you're saying. And when it came, oh, geez. And let's not talk about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. Boy, oh boy.
She was crazy. She was crazy. She reminded me of
Everyone called me a fucking misogynist when I spoke in favor of Johnny Depp.
Well, here's the thing. Anybody that knew anything, like knew the truth. Like, she was crazy. She was a gold digger. She married him. His relationship was falling apart with his then wife. She jumped on the train. And you know what? The fact of the matter is that she said nobody will ever believe you. Well, guess what? The whole world believed him. A jury believed him. Yeah. She destroyed his life. She knew what she was doing. And when she said no one will believe you, I'm like, wait a minute. She sounds like my ex. So, yeah, she sounded like my abusive ex. Nobody will ever believe you, April. You're crazy. This, that, and of course, you're the worst person ever. And they smear you and this and that. You're, she's a narcissist. And, and honestly, it's just like anybody that knew anything knew she was a narcissist. I had known people that had met her along the way. They said she was nuts. They said that she was a narcissist. She had a history of this behavior. But guess what? It's like, there were people on and I was so disappointed in some of the media outlets. I was so disappointed because they were saying things like, well, because Amber Heard can't speak out, this is bad for victims. I'm like, no, what's bad for victims is you're supporting an abuser just because she's a woman.
Well, I'll meet you halfway there too. The media here fucked up big time. Do you remember the Oscar Pistorius shooting that happened on Valentine's Day 2013?
Oh, yes.
Dude, let me meet you halfway with what happened there. When the situation occurred, I was second year journalism in college. And that was like the case study of our entire journalism class, because what had happened was, as you know, in a court of law, there's the pretrial hearing. The accused is allowed the opportunity to say guilty or not guilty, and he said guilty. The media ran with it. All of a sudden, now he's got a guilty verdict. But they hadn't even gone into the criminal trial yet. That's the first problem. The second problem is when the CSI team started investigating the murder scene, they went into the crime scene without wearing talcum gloves to handle the evidence.
Contaminated the evidence. Oh,
contaminated it, six love. And as well, the inspector who had been investigating the case had 23 or so assault cases prior against him, but he was given the murder case to solve.
No, this is just all bad.
Big time cock up. But because of the media that took the pre-trial case and saying that he was guilty, now all of a sudden he's going to be sentenced before the criminal trial actually occurred. And you know this as well as I. A person is always innocent until proven guilty by a court of law and the jury of their peers. And the media, I've been a critic about this so many times. Why isn't media regulation being followed? And I'm not just saying in this country, I'm saying worldwide. Because now we've
Well,
got bloggers all over the
just
show
report the facts. Keep it fair, because that's the thing is we didn't get
and
those
keep it
facts where we
neutral.
were. Yeah, because we heard he thought that there was an intruder. It was his girlfriend. He shot her. And and here's the thing. Maybe he was a jealous boyfriend, all right? We don't know. I mean,
Which
because
came
she was,
out, which
yeah,
came out. He was
which
very
he was a
jealous.
very, oh, of course. I mean, 'cause she's way above his pay grade, let's face it.
Big time.
But
Reva was a
big time.
beautiful woman.
Said, there also could have been somebody else that broke in. The forensic evidence was contaminated. There
The
could
whole
have been
spiel.
somebody that broke in that got out. You don't know. And maybe, and here's the thing, he wore prosthetic legs. He may have been relaxing and had to put his legs on. And by the time he put his legs on, they were out. And while he can move fast, he's still got to put his legs on. That's a process if you've ever been around an amputee. And so, yeah. And so, where is he now? Is he still incarcerated?
He was let go on parole after serving a couple of years, but he's still under house arrest.
So
So
he's not right. He was fast.
big time, hence his name, the Blade Runner. But
Yeah.
that being said, think about it this way. His career is ruined, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it's going to take Johnny Depp a long while to get back into the limelight because the damage that had
Oh,
been
of
done to
course.
his career because of that op-ed and that subsequent court case. Remember, the public acts like a snail over sanding paper. It's going to take a long while
Well, and here's
for the
the other
damage to
thing
be
too,
repaired.
is she signed, and this is the worst part, and this is where you're like faced upon. You walked away with a few $1 billion, and he was nice to her, and he should
Big
have been a
time.
son of a bitch out of the gate, because she was calling and saying he abused me, this, that, because she was afraid that he was going to kick her out of the house. And he said, "No, I'm not going to kick you out of the house. I'll give you X amount of months. You can find a place to live." And her deadbeat sister was living there. Like, he put up with so much crap from her. Okay.
Big
Let's
time.
be real. So he says, "I'll give you X amount of months. You can find a place to live." Then he gives her a fair settlement. She gets $7 million. All she's got to do is keep her mouth shut, non disparagement clause. She can't do that. Her big mouth and her ego won't let her do that. And so, yeah, he's going to have a heck of a time. Like, and here's the thing, a lot of his fans stuck by him. Anybody that knew anything stuck by him. But
And his
unfortunately,
colleagues.
and his colleagues and anybody that knew her. Because here's the thing, if she wasn't Mrs. Johnny Depp, nobody would have wanted her in Aquaman, because if she was going to be in the first, if they were married, he was going to be in the second, and that was going to sell tickets. All of a sudden, she's Mrs. Johnny Depp. They don't care. She's nobody. So, and she was nobody anyway. But fast forward, there are enough people that don't want to know the truth, that want to believe her, this, that, whatever. That they're just always, you're like you said, it's going to take them a minute.
Mm.
That's the
And that
shitty
is the
thing.
problem that we're facing now currently, taking it into even a wider context in the media today, because there's no regulatory body on who polices the police. You get what I'm saying? With
Hmm.
regards to the stories that are getting let out. I mean, I'm sure you know the name Andrew Huberman. Because of Andrew Huberman talking about neuroscience openly, now all of a sudden he's being branded as a womanizer based on a blog published in The Guardian that has no feasible fact whatsoever. Absolutely zip.
Of
And
course. And yeah. And it's just like all of a sudden it's like, like you said, it's like and especially in the United States, one problem with news is that on one hand, you have CNN, which CNN has some good shows,
they
but
do.
they have, Don Lemon was on just giving his opinion, just talking about, I don't like Trump, this, that, whatever. It's like, well, what's the news? We get you don't like Trump, but what's the news? And then you go to Fox News where they don't like Biden. The left is evil, everybody's evil, the right is good. And it's Tucker Carlson, or when he was on the air talking about his opinion too.
Mm,
And there's no middle ground. And that's the problem, is everybody's screaming on both sides. There's just no
big
middle ground.
time.
And that's where comedy, hopefully, will save the day. Is comedy's the middle ground. Comedy's the great equalizer.
It will save the day. And there I have to quote the daddy of them all. And if you want me to be opinionated, I will be. The greatest comedian of them all was George Carlin, not Richard
Yes.
Pryor.
Yes.
Not Richard Pryor. I believe George Carlin should have been number one and not number two. He said it perfectly. Comedy is at the point where you have to see the line and then you have to cross it. No
Hmm.
means whatsoever do you have to police yourself. And we have to start making fun of one another. Look, I'll face it. I've got my faults, but I've got no problem admitting it to it. You did a barb match between one current president and one former president. And I tried to keep up with you. So I'm still learning that trade. I'm not ashamed to admit that fault. And you have your faults, but the onus is
Yes.
up to me
Oh,
not to
I have
judge
a
you.
lot. Ask all my exes. My exes tell you I got my faults. But but the point is that but yeah, it's like, but comedy, it's like, why can't we just all laugh? And that's the thing, is that laughter is the best medicine. And I knew somebody, and that's why I know a little about amputees. And he gets to the hospital, they're telling him that he's about to get his leg cut off. And you know what he says to the doctor? Doc, I'd argue with you, but I don't have a leg to stand on.
Oh man.
And I thought I was going to die when I heard that. But here's the thing, what are you going to do? What's done is done. And so then he's
Sure.
telling me, I guess my hokey pokey lessons are canceled. But you got to look at that. And that's why a year later, he's got his leg. He's doing beautifully. Granted, he hasn't killed his girlfriend yet. So Oscar Pistorius has given him something to aim for. But
Aim
as a
high
matter of
for
fact, we were
bacon.
laughing. They had something about Oscar Pistorius on, and we're looking at this, and I said, "See, I said you can do anything." And then the special about Oscar Pistorius comes on. I said, "You can even commit murder." Look,
Anything is possible. Anything is possible with a
exactly,
hair trigger
yeah.
temper. Oh man, I have to say this about you. Watching some of your comedy, I got the wrong idea that you were a light-hearted person. Your humor is actually very, very dark.
Well, all humor is dark. That's the thing. Is any humor is dark. Like that's the thing. Comedy's dark. Like you know, um, they're like some like arsenic. It's a funny farce, but they're burying men in the basement. They're burying old widowers in the they're burying old widowers in the basement. They have dead bodies down there. And then they have the Theodore Roosevelt character, and it was one of my favorite movies to watch with my dad growing up.
Which movie was that
And
again?
Arsenic and Old Lace. They have the
I've never
brother who
seen
thinks
that.
he's the oh, it's a classic. You should. It's Cary Grant. And they have the brother that thinks he's Teddy Roosevelt. And so they're
Right, with
trying to
Boris
commit him
Karloff.
to the Yep, and they're trying to commit him to the sanitarium, but they can't bring him to a certain sanitarium because there are two other guys that think that they're Teddy Roosevelt. And so they're making fun of people with mental illness. And they'd be so canceled now. But guess what? If you've ever had a family member with psychiatric illness, fuck it, that's funny.
Let's quickly talk some show business nostalgia because you're evidently very knowledgeable in nostalgia, like what I would be. Were you a fan of the Munsters?
Oh, absolutely. Munsters, Adams Family, all that stuff.
Are you aware that there was a TV version of Arsenic and Old Lace with Fred Gwynn?
Yes, it's not as well known as the movie, but yes, it was very good.
With Orson Bean as well. Wait a second. Yes, Orson Bean was Mortimer the
Hmm.
brother.
Yep.
I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that with all my heart because I heard about Arsenic and Old Lace via Gilbert Gottfried, and I'm familiar with the name Arsenic and Old Lace, the motion picture with Cary Grant, but I never knew that there was a TV version of Arsenic and Old Lace, which
It's
was
good,
the
but it's not as good as the original. Nothing's ever as good as the original.
No, of course not. And I mean, look at the Fall of the House of Usher that aired on Netflix about a year ago. Nothing can beat the original motion picture of Roger Corman
Nope.
with
Nope.
Vincent Price.
Oh, Vincent Price was an absolute master.
My
Vincent
favorite.
Price, Boris Karloff, and the original Frankenstein. Actually, the fun thing about Karloff, and this is the thing about that they're having all these conversations about casting and this, that, whatever. You see him, and it's a pre-code picture called The Convict, where he plays an inmate, and he goes, "Your tea, madam," and he's running up the stairs, and you can see him, and it's actually kind of cool because you can see where he's going.
Oh, very
And
much.
yes, and they probably had a lot of guys audition for Frankenstein, but there was something about him where they could have been the best actors in the world, but when he walked in and he ran up those stairs and said, "Your tea, madam," there was some exec that said, "That's our man." Our man.
Well, that being said as well, Karloff had the ability to invoke humanity into Frankenstein's monster. Think about where he tossed the little girl into the water
Yep.
and how he later cries because he can't be a human.
Yeah, he can't be a human, and how they mistreat him, and he's just like, "Why am I a monster?" And just the way he walks, just everything about Karloff, like anything, and even when he was I Am Hotep, all he wants is he just wants to get back with his lady. His lady, she got him mummified alive, but he's putting her first. He's just a man in love, and hopefully, it was worth it. I don't know. I mean, are women ever? But you feel for him. You feel for him.
And to my South African audience, if you remember in the 90s, The Mummy would be remade with Arnold Vosloo in the title role of Imhotep.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, was that in South Africa? They did a
Hmm.
remake. Okay,
With
okay.
Brendan Fraser, remember?
Oh yes, Brendan Fraser. I couldn't watch it because I liked the original too much.
Oh, right.
Well, I
I
saw
shot myself
parts
in the
of
foot
it,
there.
but here's the thing. I saw parts of it. I lied, and I like Brendan Fraser. I think that Brendan Fraser is a great talent, but unfortunately, they destroyed it with FX. What
You
made
know
it
what?
so
You've got a
great?
point there. You've got a
What made
point
it
there.
so great? What made it so great was Karloff didn't need FX. He walks in that room and he walks like somebody that's been in a tomb for how many freaking thousand years?
And think about it this way, special effects makeup was still in its infancy, courtesy of Jack Pierce. And
Mhm.
Karloff suffered for his art because, if I
Mhm.
remember correctly, what did Rick Baker say? It was collodion and styrofoam to make up the headpiece, and it was a handful of hours to put on that makeup to such an extent that he would even sleep in that makeup to make the
Yep.
application a lot more easier. So there was a lot more labor, and boy, did he suffer. Later in life, he wore braces on his legs, and
Mhm.
compounded by his emphysema from years and years of smoking, it must have
Well,
been
they all
terrible.
smoked in those days. All the old actors smoked. It's like
Unfiltered
everybody smoked.
cigarettes.
Yeah, I mean everybody smoked, and but apparently he wasn't the greatest husband in the world, but he was a good dad. His daughter still maintains his website. He was very just devoted to her. She was devoted to him, and he would scare her friends when they were kids just for the heck of it. He liked scaring them. He liked telling stories. Like, he wasn't a great husband, but awesome father. Lousy husband, great father. You can't have everything, right?
Sure, sure. And that serves as a perfect segue. A little anecdote I want to share about your profession. In 1993, it was the Just for Laughs Festival. Nick DiPaolo was hosting, along with Jackie Martling, who else? Dave Chappelle, before he became the entity that he is today, and a comedian by the name of Roger Rittenhouse, who had a prosthesis for a hand. They're all back in the green room. Yeah, you were going to say?
Yeah, I know all of them. Go on.
And they're all sitting back in the green room, and Roger has a cup of coffee that he's holding with his prosthesis, with some delicacy, I have to say. And as sorry, and another name I wanted to mention, Paul Provenza was also on part of that lineup. And all of a sudden, Provenza stands up and throws a 25-cent piece in the cup.
I can see all this happening, knowing all these guys.
You must have certain anecdotes yourself in your journey of stand-up. Would you mind sharing?
Oh, absolutely. May Wilson and I, we were on Rachel Ray back in the day. It
Oh
was a
yeah?
portion called Audience Has Talent, and we were newer to it, and but they said, do you want to be on a show called Rachel Ray? And I didn't know a lot about it. I'd never seen the show before. I didn't even know what she did. Apparently she cooks. So anyway, we get there, and Jerry Springer's there. And Jerry Springer says, you're very good, but you're no Terry Fader. He goes, you're no Terry Fader. You're no Terry Fader. So we get the X on TV. We end up on Talk Soup. I didn't even know I was on Talk Soup until my mother called me and said, your cousin texted your aunt who called me, who said that you were so lousy that you were on Talk Soup. Anyway, that was that. So fast forward, I end up, so we work our magic. So May and I just, so Jerry gave us some advice on how to be better. So we work our little butts off. And so years later, there's a show called Judge Jerry. And we're in a show at the time, and there's a contract that's a little iffy. May's not getting paid, whatever. So we end up on TV, and it's, May sued the promoter. So anyway, Jerry Springer's there. And May had remembered meeting Jerry. Jerry remembered meeting me and May. And long story short, Jerry said, you're a very talented ventriloquist. And he complimented us on the work that we did on our act.
Man. And he was always a gentleman,
Oh,
I
he
have to
was.
say.
The world is a lesser place without Mr. Springer. And if you don't like Jerry, if anybody says that Jerry was negative and this and that, you don't need that
No, he
negativity in
wasn't.
your life. No,
No, he
Jerry
wasn't.
was the man. Jerry was awesome.
I remember
And
Jerry Springer from his eponymous TV show that aired in reruns here in South Africa. And the one thing that astonished me about him is he could stand there as still as a plank and just say one word, and then all of a sudden those people would start fighting. That kind of talent, wow. That was
oh
so
yeah,
synonymously Jerry.
and actually, and my mom, and this was my nexus to Jerry, he was always on during the daytime. And so when there was a snow day or no school or whatever, we'd be inside watching Jerry because we all watched for the fights, right? So my mom says, okay, so you guys are watching TV. We said, yeah. She goes, okay, if you're going to watch TV, you're going to have to fold laundry. But yeah, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to work for it. So we fold laundry while we were watching Jerry Springer. And so my dad goes,
Folding
why do I
laundry,
have two
watching
different?
dirty laundry.
Yes, exactly. It was perfect. So my dad's like, why do I have two different color socks? And it's like, well, Dad, the man just discovered that his wife was sleeping with his sister, and we were glued. And somebody was throwing a chair.
Oh, man. And you know what? He got such bad press because of that TV show, but he did nothing wrong.
You know
All
what?
he.
They were on of their own volition,
Oh,
and
yeah.
nobody was forcing them to be there. And
Nobody.
that's nobody. Everybody was there of their own free will, and they got there. And Jerry, like, it was an honor and a privilege to get to know Jerry, and I'm sad that I couldn't have seen him again. But he was good people's. The people that worked with Jerry were good, and so that was one. And then another one was I got to meet Anthony Bourdain before he passed.
Oh, man, you're kidding.
Nope.
How
I
was he in
was
real life? I was always curious.
It was only for 2 seconds, but I was doing a street performance, and it was with a puppet called Officer E, and Officer E is being upgraded right now, and he was my gay puppet. And Officer E, and I were doing this thing, and so there was a guy, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's got tattoos, and he's on the phone. He goes, hey, he goes, you need to talk to them. He goes, he's like, fuck this, fuck that, whatever. He goes, you need to talk to those two. And he's got all these tattoos. And he's got this gray hair. He's smoking a cigarette, and he looks like one of those guys that, he's real New York. So they said, do you want to be on TV? It's a show on the Travel Channel. I said, fine. So we do our thing. and I forget about it. And a few months later, everybody's like, April, you were on the layover. What was it like meeting Anthony Bourdain?
And you were none the wiser.
Yeah, and I said, who's Anthony Bourdain? Like, I'm like looking this up. I'm like, oh my God, it was the guy on the phone that said, you gotta get, he goes, you gotta fucking get these two. That was Anthony Bourdain.
I have to tell you, you'll like this. My mother used to work for the airport. She was a ground hostess, booking in the flights and then also receiving the passengers from flights that had just arrived. And she was working on the international wing that particular day. And a scruffy-looking gentleman was going off at one of the hostesses because they lost his luggage. So it was a he. And unfortunately, this gentleman who had cussed out the one hostess apologized to my mother in passing because he went from one point to the other point and he needed to catch an adjoining flight. It was Peter Falk.
Get out of town.
Columbo himself.
It's fucking awesome.
So
well,
yeah?
That's awesome. And you're going to like this. Back in 2015, the Daily Mail did a story on me that went viral. It went from England to, Iceland to Italy. Yeah, I went viral before COVID made it cool. Russia to China, India, Ghana to Nigeria to Kenya, Singapore to Indonesia to Australia, then from Colombia to Brazil to Guatemala. That's right. I'm a celebrity in Guatemala. And the headline read, ventriloquist who splashes out 20 grand a year on her puppets that even have their own bedroom dumps her fiance after he says it's them or me. So anyway, I start getting this fan mail from all over the world, right? And I'm going through, and I was working as a Sig Telegram delivery person in order to support the puppet stuff. You got to have the jobs.
Yeah.
And these girls are there waiting for Justin Bieber. I guess they were in town for some reason. And they were like, and I guess Justin Bieber was mean to them, so they were camped out and they were sad. And they're like, oh my God, it's the girl from My Strange Addiction. And they're talking in this accent that I've never heard. It's not quite British. It's not quite Australian. It's something like in between. And I said, yeah. And so they said, do you have a puppet? And I said, where's the accent from? They said, oh, we're from South Africa. And I'm like, ah! They had seen my news story.
Then why aren't you here busy doing a one-woman show?
Well, folks, I need a visa and I need an agent in South Africa. So if you have any connections to any theaters in South Africa, I would love to perform. I would love to meet you guys.
Big concerts. Are you listening? This is the female Ed Bergen. Or is it female Paul Winchell? Oh, hold on. He's got a daughter. Never mind.
Both. I can do both. And what's his name? Sugar Man. What's that guy's name? Sugar Man that was big in South Africa?
Yes.
I'll be your Sugar Man.
Rodriguez. Yes. Sixto Rodriguez.
Yes. I want to be bigger than Sixto.
Absolutely. Because you are refreshingly talented. And I love your candor, and I love your philosophy on life. And that brings me to my second last question. Do you think anybody could be a comedian? Part one of that question.
Mm-hmm. I think anybody could do it. If you live long enough, you have enough material. And the longer you live, the more material you have. Like, I'm working on some stuff about my nieces. They're 2 and they're 4, and they're crazy. And they couldn't be more different. And the one's 5, and the 2-year-old has this cow that she loves to take everywhere, and that's Puddin', and the 5-year-old's Peaches. And her mom got her this cow because she took her for ice cream. Well, Peaches discovered she didn't have a cow, and so she stole Puddin's cow, and so Puddin' and Peaches were like, this was like blood sport over this cow. Until Peaches got the cow, now they both have their own cows. And so, but Puddin' got her back because Puddin' is like a baby Bond villain with the little glasses in the car, and she stole Peaches. She stole it, and she's racing away. And my sister calls me and she goes, April, these 2 tiny assholes are at it again.
Oh, geez. And then second part of my penultimate question. What does it take to be a good comedian or a comedienne? Is it the writing? Is it the delivery? Both? Mental health? Efficiency?
The writing, but it's also the tenacity, and I talk a lot about it in my book, Don't Read My Lips.
And
And
I was going to
I
plug
learned
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, and available on Amazon. But the other thing too is that you always have to be willing to do new things. Like I said before, I have a chat show called April in Vegas, and I'd always wanted to do a talk show, and I am in pre-production for the second season, and it's going to be at the English Hotel here in Vegas. And so it's a new way to exercise my muscles. And so don't just do one thing. I got an MFA in creative writing because I was getting a lot of press with these guys, and I'd written a book, and I'm like, you know what? The way to the next level is, one, it's great that I'm a reality TV star because I was on a show called My Strange Addiction, which, by the way, in case you're wondering, I'm getting a second win because it's on Amazon Prime, it's on Hulu, and I'm the poster girl for the show. If you see the series, click buzz. And but I thought if I want to get to the next level, I got to up my writing. So I got an MFA in creative writing. And the thing is that, or I'm always in class, like you always have to be growing. And so that's a success because I've known some talented people that rested on their laurels. They stopped writing, they stopped learning, they stopped pushing, they gave up on themselves. And finally, mental health is a thing. And so if you're tired, take a step back. Don't wear yourself out because like you'll burn, like you can't create when you're burned out. And so, but it's a combination of things. But ultimately, just remember it's a marathon and not a sprint because a lot of people said that I'd never amount to anything. I wasn't any good. I was crazy, crazy boys like me, whatever. I wasn't funny. I was this, I was that. Well, guess what? They're not in the game anymore, and I am. So, mwah.
There we are. And you forgot one thing. You are refreshingly honest and talented. And that
Thank you.
serves me to my final question. How in the hell did you invent towel juggling?
Okay, well, all right, Chris. To be fair, and this is what helped me work with Bob Saget towards the end of his life, and that was nice.
Oh, shame.
Um,
Yeah, second.
I as a woman, I have had so many accidental towel slips, drops, and whoops in my life, right? So, and I'm always dropping the towel, whatever. I'm clumsy. And so I saw these two guys doing something in France on the YouTube. That's what my parents call it, the YouTube. And anyway, I was like, wow, I could develop a whole routine. And so I did a video. It got like a bunch of views, and America's Funniest Home Videos. I'm sure you have like a version of that in South Africa, right?
Absolutely.
So anyway, they were taking submissions again, and I thought I should submit this. So I get a call from an LA number. I'm like, and I'm living in New York. I'm like, why is LA calling me at this time? Why are they calling me? Ring a ding ding. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking it's spam. I'm like, hello, and it's this girl, and she's like, hi, my name is, and I want to say it's Darlene or something like that. She said, I'm with a show called Videos After Dark. And I'm like, what's that? She goes, it's like America's Funniest Home Videos, but only more naughty. And, we like your video. And if it's chosen, we'll pay you. And that's all she had to say. So, anyway, a few months later, so I get the paperwork, I sign it, I forget all about it. All of a sudden, April, you're in a promo for the new Bob Saget show. And I was like all over the promo, it was airing everywhere. Everybody I went to high school with was calling me. One guy that used to ask me out as a joke that was popular was like suddenly like, April, can I get your autograph? Whatever. And so anyway, long story short, I was on Videos After Dark, which was pretty cool. And it was pretty cool to be able to say that I worked with Bob Saget at the end.
And what a sweet gentleman he was.
Yes,
What a
without
sweet
a doubt.
gentleman.
Funny, funny. And I have to say this. If Danny Tanner would have said some of those things on Wake Up San Francisco, the show would have been canceled, but he would have been a star.
Mm. You know what? Let's learn from a lot of mistakes of the past and let's implement them in the present. And that starts with the individual. It's not going to start at government level. April, I don't know what to say other than thank you. You are refreshing. You are absolutely funny. You brought in some characters. We spoke on some great things. Madam, you have an open invite. You've got to come back. You are
I will.
super, super, and best of luck with
Thank you.
going forward. Congratulations on the upcoming shows. If you want to find out more, aprilbrucker.com. You can aprilbrucker.tv. I meant to say. You can also check her out on Instagram at April Brucker, and it's spelled Bravo Romeo Uniform Charlie Kilo Echo Romeo. April, you are a darling.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is April Brucker. I'm Chris Nell, and remember always, through the Apex Predator, you can become an unbreakable mind, an unstoppable force, an untamed spirit, and your very own army of one. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.